According to DraftKings and other major sports books partnered with 3downnation.com, the Blue Bombers are the favorites to win the 2023 Grey Cup. Do you guys see any value in picking other teams to claim the CFL championship, or is the smart money on the peg?
To me, I don't really believe, honestly, in betting favorites like that. The Bombers are plus 225 to win, so that means that like a $50 bet, you're getting just over $100 in terms of winnings, which is fine. And I do think that the chances of Winnipeg getting back to the Grey Cup are pretty good. Even winning it are pretty good. They've been in the last three, 1-2 the last three. And by the way, for all your CFL betting needs, go on our desktop, 3downnation.com, hover over the odds tab, and then you can click on CFL, Grey Cup, all that good stuff. If you want to bet on the CFL, please do it through 3Down Nation. But to me, the best buy here is, first of all, always an Eastern team, right? There's only 4 teams in the East. There's 5 in the West. Mathematically, you have a better shot of getting a team through the East Division to the Grey Cup. And as we saw this past year, once you're in the Grey Cup, anything can happen, even if you're not the favorites. To me, the team with the longest odds in the East Division also happens to be the best buy, and that is the Ottawa Red Blacks at plus 1,500. If you were to place a $50 bet, you would be getting back like $750 for that money. And this is a team that, yes, they only won 4 games this past year, but they were super competitive in back-to-back games against the Blue Bombers to start the year. Jeremiah Masoli goes down, and then their whole season derailed. Masoli's not going to play in the preseason, but he is, by all accounts, ready to perform. And with Masoli in the lineup in what is, again, not a terribly strong division, I think that the Red Blacks will be hosting a playoff game this season. And once you host a playoff game, getting to the Grey Cup and potentially winning it are fully in the cards, just as we saw in 2016 when this team shocked the Calgary Stampeders to win a CFL title. So to me, the best buy is the Ottawa Red Blacks.
Yeah, you stole my pick there, Hodge, because I really like the Red Blacks as well.
Is it because of their uniforms?
No, it has nothing to do with their uniforms. But for the sake of being different, I'm going to go in another direction. But with the same philosophy, when I'm making a bet like this on something long term, that no matter who you're betting on, it's a 1 in 9 chance to pay off. It's a long shot bet. I want to get the highest return, so I look at, first of all, who has the longest odds, and right now that's the Edmonton Elks at plus 2,000 on DraftKings. And for me, even though I don't think they're the likeliest to win the Grey Cup, I still think there's value there, because I look down the list of West Division teams and I see a bunch of teams that have the potential to decline and open up doors for someone else to step up, right? Winnipeg, they're the favorites for a reason, but at some point, the age is going to catch up to them. They're going to have just the right amount of injuries to knock them off their pedestal. Calgary, we've already talked about some of my concerns about whether Jake Mayer can do it and whether they're going to be able to live up to potential if he doesn't have the season that people expect him to have. And then the BC Lions, I think, are naturally going to have a step back in terms of their win total because they're going from Nathan Rourke to Vernon Adams Jr. And even if VA has the best season of his career, it's not going to be as good as what Nathan Rourke was able to produce last year. And so they're going to win fewer games as a result. And so in that mix, there's a potential for one of the non-playoff teams last year to step up. And to me, Edmonton is the likelier of the two because of the weaponry that they've surrounded Taylor Cornelius with. Now, I've never been a big believer in Cornelius, but he doesn't really have to be accurate this season. His receiving core is insane, right? You've got guys like Eugene Lewis and Stephen Dunbar Jr. and Dylan Mitchell, who I thought down the stretch last year was as good as any receiver in the entire CFL. He's going to have weaponry around him. Chris Jones' teams always take a jump in year 2. I think there's some talent on that defense. They've legitimately gotten better. So if they can make the playoffs, and I think they could, given those other teams and how they're positioned and how they might take a step back, then why not bet on them to make it all the way to the Grey Cup, especially if the payoff is as big as it is here?
The Red Blacks are definitely a savvy bet in the East. We all agree on that. That is, I think, worth putting some money down on. but I'm going to go to the hardy middle here. It's never really valuable from a betting the board perspective if you're going to take the favorite in terms of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So I'll go with the Calgary Stampeders at plus 650 because Dave Dickinson has led teams there before. Jake Maier did have a playoff start now under his belt after that West semifinal in BC last year. And this team has some veterans on it that are really good, and I think that defense can be stout. And if Jake Maier plays solid football or even up to half of his potential, I think Calgary is a real dark horse, pardon the pun, team to win the Grey Cup coming out of that tough West division. There were some people last year that thought that Calgary could pull an upset of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because they played them so close. And in a couple of those games, the quarterback was Jake Maier. So I think he's ready for this moment. Now, this is not to say that this is me picking the Stampeders to win the Grey Cup. It's the team that I think has the most realistic value in terms of the betting aspect of this. So I think that's important for people to understand that. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I don't think either of you are out here saying the Red Blacks are going to win the Grey Cup either, but it's the best value bet. And when you're looking at betting, that's what you need to do with your money is find the best value. Bet the board, as the experts would say.